A lot is how do we get the straps out from underneath the casket once we've placed it in the grave? We kind of shimmy them out a little bit. So this is a demonstration on how we do that. So now we're going to talk about some don'ts that we don't do at a cemetery. When you walk up to a cemetery and you see some pretty flowers, oh, hello lizard, you do not want to steal them and put them on your loved one's grave. Totally disrespectful. As you see, do bring them back and place them back on Miss Meyer's headstone. Next thing we talk about is standing. Now, you don't want to step on any marble or granite that you see out there or any bronze, as that would be a ledger that you see here or a headstone. You don't want to lean on any headstones. Some are tall enough that you can. Now the next one I have seen several times, and you totally just do not want to sit on any headstones. Totally just disrespectful. Would you want someone sitting on your head? No. Leaning on them? Come on now. So these are some don'ts, and I really hope you've learned something and can apply them in your real life. I'm going to show you how I fill and seal an urn today. I start out by placing a new plastic bag inside of the urn. I then untwist the other bag that has the cremated remains in it. I then place the remains inside of the bag, making sure they are all out. Then I twist, bang, make sure that everything is in there smoothly. Then I take the twist tie and the tag that every person gets when they are cremated and tie the bag. I then take my epoxy, my sealant, whichever I'm using. Today I am using this Gorilla Glue. I put some on the lid, put some on the urn, and then it is all sealed. I then look for something a little heavy to make sure that it stays on. So there you go.
A lot of people are like, why hospice? Why do you want to work around death? And I couldn't think of an example to explain to y'all why death is so normal to me until today. These are my grandparents. They're funeral directors. And ever since I was little, when we'd see people smoking outside like this, they would go up to them and hand them a business card that said, "Thank you for your business" on one side and the information to their funeral home on the other. I was recently asked what happens whenever you die, what to expect. If you are uncomfortable with death, you need to keep on scrolling. So about 1 to 3 months before you die, you'll start to withdraw from the outside world. You will eat less and you will sleep more. 1 to 2 weeks beforehand is usually when confusion sets in. You'll be sleeping most of the day now, and you will be eating just a couple of bites or only fluids at this point. A couple of days before you die, you'll usually get a surge of energy and feel a lot better. Then you'll start having breathing changes. Your skin will start changing colors. And then in the last few hours, you'll usually be in a coma. Your breathing will be very irregular, so will your pulse. And then finally, you just stop breathing. Here's the story you've been waiting for. When a patient came back after I pronounced them dead, and you'll quickly find out why I have not shared this story yet. So this patient was an elderly woman. She was passing, and I was on one end of her bed, and then her daughter was on the other. The patient was facing her daughter like this way, and she passed. I gave her a few minutes for the daughter to, say her goodbyes, and then I used my stethoscope to make sure that there was not a heartbeat, lung sounds, all of that stuff, and you have to listen for 2 minutes. So I did that. I called time of death, and the daughter left the room to go tell family members. So I'm sitting on a chair with the patient still facing away from me, charting, doing what I need to do. And I saw her move, which happens sometimes. But then she turned her head and she looked at me. And I'll be honest, my brain couldn't process this. So I just stared at her. And I'm running out of time. Part 2. This patient had been in a coma for 2 weeks. She passed, and I had pronounced her as deceased. So she had just turned her head towards me and was looking at me while I was charting, even though she was deceased. After my initial shock wore off, I called her daughter in, who came over and held her hand. The patient, who had been in a coma for 2 weeks, then screamed. And then she died again. Answering the top 5 questions that I saw. Number 1, did I have to pronounce death again? And yes, I walked outside, asked the doctor, and he said that I did have to. Number 2 was the daughter's reaction. She actually got comfort from it. She felt like her mom was trying to tell her that she loved her. Number 3, how did I react? I was extremely scared. It really, really scared me, and having to put my stethoscope to her chest for 2 minutes and like be very close to her, it scared me. Number 4 was, what was the scream like? It wasn't like a moan like I saw a lot of people comment. It was kind of high pitched. Number 5 was, do I think that she went to the bad place? I really don't know. I can say that she did something in her past that most people would consider to be really bad. I can't tell because of HIPAA, but I don't know. And my favorite comment is that I'm grounded from story time, so y'all let me know when I'm ungrounded from that.
Well, shit.
This is the hospice story that helped me believe there's an afterlife. I had a patient at the end of his life with a ton of anxiety, and I had given him medication and I could not get it under control. I called our doctor, I told him what was going on, and he said, "What did the chaplain say?" I told the doctor that this patient wasn't religious, so I wasn't sure what he was going to do, and he said, "Please just call him anyway." The chaplain arrived, the patient said it was okay for them to pray, and right after, our chaplain was like, "Sir, you have some unfinished business on this earth, don't you?" And the patient was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So our chaplain left, and I was there still trying to give him medicine for his anxiety. And he finally turned to me after a couple hours and was like, "I have to call my daughter." So he called his daughter. He apologized for everything he had done to her. She forgave him. And then without medication, he was able to pass peacefully.
I wanted to show you guys how they place the dirt back in the grave once they have placed the lid on the vault. They use these trailers when they have dug the grave to put the leftover dirt in them. So they back it up, make a first tilt, then the guys come in, make it as level as they possibly can to try and even out the dirt. Now, these cemetery guys do not get enough credit. They are amazing people. They get out there in this heat and dig graves, sometimes by hand, but they are just amazing people. So now he's going to come back and make a second pass with the dirt just to make sure they have it all. So the guy in the blue shirt is going to come through with what's called a stamper, and that is help leveling the ground and packing the ground in so they can place the grass that you see back over it and make it presentable for the family to come see later. This is how I fill a scattering urn. A scattering urn is when you are placing the remains in the urn and then scattering the remains at another point in time. That is a perforated edge, so your hands do not actually have to go in the remains when scattering them. I'm going to take the tag off of the bag and then place the remains inside of the urn. I make sure all of the remains are out, settle the bag. I am finding some glue so I can secure that first lid to the side so it does not come off during scattering. I place it on there, make sure it is secure, place the other one on there. When I take it off, you can see where the perforated edges are. Just finished a service and I have a little rant. Pastors, if you're gonna bring your wife to the service, make sure they turn their darn phones off and don't have it go off 3 times during the service. And if I'm a Karen, oh well, it's not respectful. Why is there a smell? Well, when caskets go into a mausoleum, they are placed in what's called a sealer casket. And I'll show you what that is. Hold on one second. This is a gasket. They are never 100% effective, but they do help outside elements from getting inside the casket and some of the smells from getting outside the casket and that sort of thing. So some older mausoleums may not have the ventilation that some of the newer ones have, and some of the bodies have been in there since the early 1900s. And in this Florida heat, sometimes it just smells. So we do have something that we do place on bodies, especially when after we have embalmed and we're placing clothes on them. If there's seem to be any leaking fluids or any puncture marks from IVs or anything like that we can't seem to get to stop leaking, we use the plastic. So I'm going to show you a couple of variations. These are pants. You put them on one leg at a time and it comes up to the waist. If you don't want to use the pants, say a leg is leaking real bad or an arm, we do have the sleeves. But then these are the stockings. Again, you place over the foot and it goes all the way up to the thigh. And then I have what's called a unional, which is the full covering from neck all the way down to the feet. And that is this. Now this is a little bit bigger one, just to be able to show you. We do have larger size for larger people. Zip it up, tie it. So what you are going to see me do here is actually the tag that's in my hand goes on the casket at the foot end of the casket. That is to help identify the casket in case for some ungodly reason it comes out of the vault at a later point in time. What I'm going to show you next is we actually put one on the vault as well. As I walk around, you'll see it there. We do tag the vault, we tag the casket, and we do tag the person on the inside. So this is how you place a casket in a funeral coach when there's only two people. You lift, and then you place on the rollers, go to the back, lift, and place them back in as well. When he moves the casket trucks, which is what the casket rolls on from place to place, I am getting the stopper that actually secures the casket in the vehicle when we are going from place to place. See it right there? Secure it to the back of the casket. There are two also at the front of the casket. I secure that, make sure it's nice and tight. He closes the door, we get our paperwork, and off to the cemetery. I have had several requests to show how I fill a keepsake urn. This is a keepsake urn. It only carries a portion of the cremated remains. So first I start out with a funnel and I place some of the remains into the funnel and make sure that they are getting in there. Now that funnel's hole was just a little too small, so I did get a bigger funnel with a bigger hole. As you can see, they went down in there more easily. So once I make sure all of the remains are in and full to the top, I then get the glue and glue the lid. Put some glue on the lid, screw it down, make sure it's all nice and tight and that there's no leakage from the glue, and there you go. So I wanted to share this with you. This is a double service, but not a normal one. This one has casketed remains and cremated remains. This gentleman died many years ago, and his sister passed away just a few days ago. So they are being now placed at the same time. I've gotten this question a couple times, so I figured I'd show you my outfits. This is what I wear when I'm meeting with families, making funeral arrangements. When I do funeral services, I really just add a jacket to it. Today I have my black jacket. So I have my name tag. It's on the right side, so when you shake someone's hand, it's not obstructed in any way. And this is my suit. This is what I wear. Fully black, no matter the heat. Yes, 6 feet under is really a thing. But once you put the vault in there, the vault is about 3 to 4 feet high, depending on which kind of vault you use, along with the lid. So once you've placed the vault in there and you've put the vault lid on, you have about 3 feet between the top of the vault lid and the top of the grave. Now here in the state of Florida, the regulations state that we have to have 12 inches of topsoil above the top of the vault and the top of the ground. So therefore there's a foot of dirt between the top of the vault and the actual top of the ground, at least. Sometimes there's more. Hope this helps and answers your question.
Hey guys, so I went to the hospital today. This is me waiting. I got my blood taken out, and it was there for a total of 8 hours. And then I saw this, and I was very confused. And then I saw this, and I was like, bitch, am I like pregnant? Pretty much, not okay. I tested negative for COVID, but they couldn't find anything wrong, and I still can't fucking breathe. So yeah.
So this is what's called an above ground crypt. This is one of my favorite ones in our local cemetery. It is so beautiful. As I walk around, you can see the black granite and the 2 benches on the side, and you see the vents there. That helps take the smell out. It has 4 of them, 2 on each side. This is the back. Again, there's the vents. And when you see, they even have this walkway that you can walk up that's very nice, and the steps. Now, they've actually prepaid for this because, as you can see, the date of death is not on there. That means there's nobody actually in these. But they are one of my favorites. It's a walk up, it's black, it's just gorgeous. This is what the casket is placed on while we're waiting for the service out at graveside, and then is slowly lowered into the grave. As you see, there is a vault already in there. It is a double depth, which means 2 people can actually be placed in this one. So what happens is the casket starts here and rolls onto here. These help support the casket while we're waiting for the actual lowering. These are the lowering straps. This is another support to hold it, just to make sure that it doesn't fall if something were to give out. So as you see, they have 1, 2, 3 supports in order to hold the casket on. This is a stopping device, so when the casket rolls, this stops it so it doesn't roll off the edge. Very smart invention. But I thought you'd like to see what a lowering device looks like.
Hi guys, today I'm working on a lot of things. I'm studying and doing my sculpture because I've missed so many days of school. But I've been thinking, and y'all want to know, for you guys that wonder how mortuary school is like, and you probably think that it's the most professional setting that, you know, could ever happen to any type of schooling. Well, let me tell you. I thought the same thing before I started school. I was like, oh gosh, I am not professional. How am I going to go through this? Turns out that mortuary school is worse than high school. In the less than 1 year that I've been in school, I had never gone through as much as I'm going through with the people that I go to school with. One of the worst things about mortuary school is that everyone sees everyone as competition. We all have the same goal, but everyone tries to be better than everyone.
So I'm walking up to what's called a double depth grave. What that is they actually open the grave up to 12 foot, and they have what's called a double vault. The Garden of Good Shepherd. And that's where they hold cremated remains. Those hold cremated remains. So what they do is they actually dig down. They put a double depth vault in. The first person goes in, and then there is a layer of almost like a lid on top of the vault. And then when the second person passes away, they do go on top of that person, and then they seal the vault from there. As you see, the headstone lists 2 names, so there are 2 people underneath. If you want more, check out my Instagram. So I'm going to turn the corner here, and some of you may recognize this house, some of you may not, but that is the house that My Girl was filmed at. Just thought I would share that with you. We're going to turn left here. As you can see, they are in the middle of painting it and doing some restoration, but this is where they filmed the movie My Girl. A lot of the house scenes.
Things at my mortuary school that just make sense. this container of really old embalming tools from I don't know when, but they look pretty old. Very old bottles of formaldehyde and embalming fluid. Love them. 10 out of 10. This very small coffin. This other very small coffin. These very old stopcocks and other things. Very old rosaries and other paraphernalia personally gifted to one of my amazing teachers. And last but not least, this desiccated mummified hand.
So if you're using fire-based cremation, no, remains do not normally have a smell. Maybe like an ashy smell, but nothing that you could identify. Now, if you're using what's called natural cremation or alkaline hydrolysis, yes, remains do have almost like a soapy detergent smell. Hope this helped. So here we are. This is a mausoleum with a set of doors. We're gonna walk through, and I'm not gonna lie, there is a little bit of a smell here. It is a decomp smell when you first walk in, but once you get in, it kind of get used to the smell. These are interesting to have just the two here on each side. So that's interesting. The sergeants, and I'm betting the carpenters, are here. That's their lift. So you place the casket on top of here, and then this raises up to those high spots up there. But this is their inside mausoleum in Lakeland. I don't get emotional very much. I am a professional in what I do, so my job is to maintain my professionalism during those services. There are a time or two where I have gotten misty-eyed or teary-eyed, and a tear or two has fallen. But I try very hard to maintain my professionalism, because I'm there to help the family. I am there to make sure that they are started their grieving process. Funeral services are part of that grieving process. So I try very hard not to get emotional. For services as I do, I definitely walk away or go in the bathroom and compose myself and come back out, because the families don't need me to be emotional. They need me to maintain my professionalism and make sure everything is taken care of.
So I really wanted to stay away from this forever, because I feel like it's not mine or anyone else in this type of business's place to really decide the way that people tend to cope and shit like that. And I'm not trying to, but I'm gonna address something that I get asked and told a lot, and I want to explain it to you. So forever since I made this account, I've been getting asked like, I went to a funeral and my loved one, so-and-so looked like he was crying, looked like they grabbed my hand, looked like they were breathing. So this is actually realistically not possible. Your mind creates certain things that you would want to see in order to make you more comfortable. Now, if there really is liquid and fluids coming out of orifices like the eyes and such, it's not that they're crying, it's that they're releasing fluid that is stuck in these places and needs to be released.
Did you know that to be a sperm donor in California, you have to be at least 5'8"? And I'm 5'7", so that means that there are people out there that physically, medically cannot have children, and I offer to help them out of the goodness of my heart, and they go, oh, no thank you. I am literally not tall enough for this ride.
So I'm getting done with my service. I'm on my way home. The phones have been transferred to the answering service. That's what most funeral homes do in the evening. So I get a call saying that we've had a first call. So, okay, that's fine. I pull over to look at it, and I look at the weight. It says 900 pounds. So I have to call the answering service back and said, did you mean to put 900 pounds on there? And she looked and she listened to the voicemail and she says, oh, I put too many zeros. She's only 90 pounds. Could you imagine if I showed up with 4 people to help me for a little 90-pound woman? The nurse would look at me like I'm crazy. This is the other side of it. So we're going to walk through the doors here. Now this side does not smell like the other side does. There's no whiff of decomp as you walk in. They built a wall there, obviously, so they could have some sort of services or over on the other side where we were a few minutes ago. And these are just some other spots. So this is the other side of that